USCIS isn't just catching fraud anymore, they're hunting for it. But here's the twist. Most of the people getting flagged aren't scammers at all. They're regular immigrants making tiny, harmless mistakes, like spelling their name a little differently or posting the wrong anniversary date online. And suddenly, they're treated like criminals. Denied visas, green cards revoked, lives upended over simple oversights. In this video, we're exposing the 4 innocent mistakes that could get you flagged for fraud by USCIS in 2025. Some of them you're probably making right now without even realizing it. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. Mistake 4, mismatched information, form and record inconsistency. The most common fraud red flag isn't fake documents, it's inconsistency. A single detail that doesn't line up, an address, a nickname, a job title, can make a USCIS officer raise an eyebrow and mark your file for deeper review. And once that happens, your case is no longer routine. It becomes a fraud investigation. Imagine this. Maria, a nurse from the Philippines, has lived in the US for 8 years. She files her adjustment of status, lists her current employer as St. Luke's Medical Center, and provides her full legal name, Maria Teresa Santos. But on an older tourist visa form from 2016, she once used Maria T.S. Reyes. That minor name variation alone triggered a cross-check. USCIS pulled every old record, found mismatched employment dates between her LinkedIn profile and her I-485 form, and her interview turned from routine to aggressive. What started as a typo now looks like deception. USCIS officers aren't guessing. They use an internal database called FDNS, Fraud Detection and National Security, which automatically scans your personal data across prior petitions, DMV records, tax filings, and even old DS-160 visa forms. When a name, employer, or address doesn't match, it's not treated as human error, it's treated as possible misrepresentation. The worst part, you may never know it happened until you receive a request for evidence, or worse, a notice of intent to deny, NOID, accusing you of fraud. And once that letter lands, you're no longer defending your eligibility, you're defending your honesty. Think about how small inconsistencies can creep in. You changed jobs, but forgot to update it everywhere. You used the short version of your name on one form, Alex, instead of Alejandro. Your online professional bio lists a slightly different start date for your job. Every detail you submit becomes part of a digital web. USCIS doesn't just check what you submit now, it checks what you submitted years ago, what your employer submitted for you, and what your social footprint confirms. So how do you protect yourself? Organization. Before filing anything new, build a master record of every immigration form you've ever filed, from your first visa to your last renewal. Include old receipts, confirmation numbers, and employment letters. Then cross-verify line by line with your new forms. You'd be shocked at how many applicants contradict their own answers across forms. For example, one I-130 petition lists a US address that doesn't appear in your I-485, or a prior DS-206 lists your marital status as single, but now you're applying as married without showing when the marriage occurred. Those are red flags USCIS interprets as intentional concealment. Remember, to them, pattern equals proof. If they see 2 or 3 small mismatches, they won't assume oversight, they'll assume strategy. Here's the rule of thumb. If 2 forms don't tell the same story, USCIS will write one for you, and it won't end well. Keep track of every address with start and end dates, employer with exact titles and periods, education record, marital status and family details, old A numbers or receipt numbers. Even small things like missing middle initials or outdated phone numbers can trigger data mismatch flags. And don't guess, ever. If you're unsure about a date, go back to your passport stamps, payslips, or W-2S. Accuracy builds credibility, guesswork builds suspicion. Finally, maintain digital and physical copies of every form you've filed, especially old ones, because USCIS will dig through your record faster than you can remember what year you changed departments. Here's the irony. It's often the most honest applicants who get flagged simply because they weren't careful enough to make their paperwork tell one unified story. So before you hit submit, read every word out loud. Make sure your life story makes sense on paper, online, and in person. Because once it's filed, every comma, every date, every name becomes your truth in the eyes of immigration law. Mistake 3, social media contradictions and online behavior. And here's the truth USCIS won't tell you. They no longer need to dig through paper trails to find fraud. They just have to look at your phone. Every status update, photo, and comment you've ever posted can now be used to verify or destroy your credibility. In 2025, USCIS officers actively review public digital footprints through advanced screening tools that scan Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, Twitter, and even dating apps for inconsistencies. What used to be casual sharing is now potential evidence. It doesn't take much. Imagine this. Anna and Luis, a newly married couple, applied for a marriage-based green card. Their paperwork said they met in 2021, married in June 2023, and lived together in Miami, but Anna's Instagram still lists her as single, and Luis hasn't posted a single photo with her. Meanwhile, Luis's Facebook shows him attending a wedding in Mexico. On the same weekend, their paperwork says he was in Miami filing the petition. To them, it's harmless. To USCIS, it's suspicious. That's all it takes for an officer to mark the file referred to fraud unit. Suddenly, Anna and Luis are called to a second interview. Separately, they're grilled on what color their bed sheets are, who sleeps on which side of the bed, and the name of the restaurant where they first met. They leave shaking, confused, and terrified. The problem wasn't fraud. It was digital contradiction. The Department of Homeland Security's FDNS social media division was quietly expanded after 2023. Officers there are trained to use forensic tools that can track even deleted content and screenshot histories. Private accounts? Not as private as you think. Anything tagged, reshared, or saved through public users becomes fair game. And it's not just marriage cases. Employment-based immigrants are being flagged when their LinkedIn job titles or company names don't match their visa petitions. If your petition says software engineer at Global Tech, but your LinkedIn profile says lead developer at Quantum Soft, the algorithm marks you for review. The same applies to student visa holders posting internship updates before receiving work authorization. A simple, proud to start my new job caption could be interpreted as unauthorized employment. Even volunteering photos can trigger suspicion if it looks like paid work. Now add a new layer of complexity, political and social content. USCIS officers now screen for what they call security-relevant online behavior. Posts criticizing U.S. policy, particularly involving Israel, immigration enforcement, or national security, are flagged for attitude review. In extreme cases, those posts have led to citizenship delays or denials under the good moral character clause. Here's a real case scenario from 2024. Hassan, a lawful permanent resident from Egypt, posted an article questioning U.S. foreign aid on Facebook. A few months later, while applying for naturalization, his interview included questions about his online political views. He was shocked. They had printed screenshots of his posts. Nothing he said was illegal, but the tone was enough to create further review. Months of silence followed. It sounds Orwellian, but it's reality. So what can you do? First, audit your online presence like your immigration future depends on it, because it does. Go back through every public post, profile, and photo. Ask yourself, could this be misunderstood by someone who doesn't know me? If you're married, make sure your relationship is visible. You don't have to post daily selfies, but some trace of your shared life helps confirm authenticity. Consistency builds credibility. If you're working or studying, make sure your professional details line up everywhere. LinkedIn, visa forms, and tax filings should tell the same story. Even small differences in employment dates can raise eyebrows. And yes, you should clean up your accounts, but carefully. Deleting everything right before filing looks suspicious too. Instead, start changing your posting habits months in advance. Stop posting controversial content. Archive sensitive photos gradually. Let your feed reflect stability, authenticity, and alignment with your immigration story. One more thing, never lie during interviews about your online activity. If an officer asks, do you have Facebook or Instagram? Don't say no, they already know. What they're checking is your honesty. It's also smart to keep screenshots of your profiles as evidence of your digital consistency. If someone ever questions your credibility, you'll have a timeline showing your transparency. This isn't about censorship, it's about strategy. In 2025, your phone is part of your immigration file. The takeaway? USCIS isn't just judging your paperwork anymore. They're judging your digital life. Every like, post, and photo builds a version of you in their system. Make sure it's the same version you present on your forms, because when your social media tells a different story than your application, USCIS assumes one thing: that one of them is a lie. And in immigration law, a lie doesn't have to be big to destroy everything. Mistake 2, trusting the wrong helper, fake consultants, notarios, and bad lawyers. This is the one mistake that feels safe until it ruins everything. You think you're saving time, money, and stress by hiring someone who knows the system. But in immigration, the wrong help can destroy your case faster than any lie ever could. Meet Rogelio, a hardworking father from Texas. He wanted to bring his wife and son to the US after years apart. English wasn't his strong suit, and immigration forms looked like a maze of codes and numbers. So when a consultant from his community promised to handle everything for only $400, 0 cents, he thought he'd found a blessing. Rogelio gave the man his documents, paid the fee, and waited. Months later, USCIS sent a notice saying his case was denied for fraud. Turns out, the consultant had made up details to speed things up. Rogelio didn't just lose the petition, he was flagged in the system. This is the kind of tragedy that happens every day. Across the US, thousands of immigrants fall for the same trap, the notario scam. In many Latin American countries, a notario publico is a respected legal professional, but in the US, a notary public is not a lawyer. They can't give legal advice, file your case, or even fill out immigration forms for a fee. Yet they do it daily, preying on people's hope, fear, and desperation. They promise fast approvals, they guarantee results, they whisper, "Don't worry, I know someone inside USCIS." But what they really do is file half-baked forms, use fake addresses, or alter timelines to fit eligibility, and when USCIS spots the inconsistency, it's your name on the form, not theirs. Even worse, some applicants don't find out until it's too late. A single false statement on a form, even one you didn't write yourself, can lead to denial, removal, or even a lifetime bar from re-entry. But scammers aren't the only danger. Some licensed attorneys, yes, real ones, can also destroy your case. Immigration law is complex. A careless or greedy lawyer might file a case you don't qualify for just to collect fees. They might forget to respond to a USCIS request, miss your hearing date, or tell you it's okay to work before you're authorized. And when that happens, USCIS doesn't go after your lawyer, they go after you. Here's how to protect yourself. Before trusting anyone with your immigration future, verify their credentials. Every legitimate immigration attorney has a state bar number you can check online through your state's bar association. If they're not an attorney, they must be an accredited representative working for a recognized nonprofit organization verified by the Department of Justice, EOIR. You can look them up on the DOJ website. It takes less than 2 minutes. If they refuse to show proof or get defensive when you ask, walk away immediately. A real professional welcomes verification. A fake one panics. Remember these golden rules. No one can guarantee approval. No one can speed up your case for money. And no one who truly knows immigration law charges suspiciously low fees. If they advertise in grocery stores, WhatsApp groups, or Facebook Marketplace promising 100% approval, it's not a service, it's bait. Let's talk about what happens when fraud is discovered. Once USCIS detects fake or altered information, they permanently tag your A number with a fraud indicator. That mark never disappears. It follows you through every visa, renewal, and citizenship application. Even if you didn't know your consultant lied, you're still liable. USCIS will assume you are complicit unless you can prove otherwise. Think about that for a moment. Someone else's lie can define your entire immigration record. Here's a chilling example. A Guatemalan mother hired a community helper to file her asylum case. He told her to include a dramatic story because it makes approval faster. He invented details, abuse, threats, political persecution, none of which were true. Her case was denied for material misrepresentation, and when she tried to reapply legally years later, USCIS used that false statement against her. Even though she didn't write it, her fingerprints were on the application. That's the danger. Once your name is attached to fraud, truth becomes irrelevant. Now here's the twist most people don't realize. Sometimes the fraud isn't malicious, it's ignorance. A friend who helped before, a church volunteer, or even a bilingual cousin who offers to fill out forms. They mean well, but one wrong box checked, one old address reused, one typo in your date of entry, and suddenly your clean record becomes a red flag. So here's your safest move: control your own file. Know what's being submitted, review every word before you sign, ask questions until you understand what's written, make copies of every page, keep them in a folder, because if you ever get called for an interview, you are responsible for every answer, every line, every document, even if someone else prepared it. At the end of the day, the wrong helper can cost more than money. It can cost your peace, your time, even your future in America. The system is already stacked with complexity. Don't hand your fate to someone who can't legally protect you. Trust verified professionals only. Never let desperation rush you into paperwork that could erase your dreams. Because in immigration, one bad signature isn't just a mistake, it's a mark that can follow you for life. Mistake 1, hiding the truth out of fear, the most dangerous one. This is the mistake that ruins more immigration dreams than any other. Not because people are dishonest, but because they're scared. Scared of rejection, scared of deportation, scared that one small truth could undo everything they've worked for. But in the eyes of USCIS, fear doesn't excuse falsehood, it amplifies it. Let's start with Rena's story. She came to the US on a student visa in 2015. She overstayed for a few months before marrying her US citizen fiance. When filing for her green card, she decided not to mention the overstay. It's just a few months, she thought. During her interview, the officer asked about her previous status. She hesitated. One nervous pause, one inconsistent sentence, and her application was immediately flagged for fraud. She wasn't lying about her marriage, but she hid one small fact out of fear. That single omission now threatens to undo years of effort. Here's the truth. USCIS has access to everything. Every arrival and departure, every tax record, every employment record, every fingerprint you've ever submitted, even records sealed by local courts are visible through DHS databases. They use cross-agency data systems linking the FBI, IRS, CBP, ICE, and State Department. So when applicants think they can hide a minor mistake, a previous visa denial, an unauthorized job, or even a dismissed arrest, they're usually wrong. And when USCIS catches a discrepancy, they don't assume fear, they assume fraud. That's the difference between a forgivable mistake and a permanent mark on your record. Here's what makes this so tragic. Most of the hidden truths people are scared of are not even fatal to their case. Worked without authorization, there are waivers and forgiveness options. Overstayed a visa, many paths allow adjustment of status despite it. Old arrest dismissed, it might not even affect eligibility. But once you lie about it or conveniently forget to include it, it becomes a willful misrepresentation. And under US immigration law, that's one of the hardest bars to overcome. It doesn't matter if the lie was small or harmless, it's seen as intent to deceive. Now let's break down what actually happens behind the scenes. Every time you file a new petition, USCIS officers pull up your AFAML, your complete immigration history. They compare every answer you've given on every form since your first entry. If one answer contradicts another even slightly, the system automatically flags it for deeper review. Then comes the request for evidence, RFE, asking for clarification. If your response still doesn't make sense, they issue a notice of intent to deny, NOID. And if the inconsistencies seem intentional, they refer your case to the Fraud Detection and National Security Unit, FDNS, the department empowered to investigate, raid, and even arrest applicants suspected of misrepresentation. In other words, one hidden truth can make your whole life look like a lie. Take Daniel, a construction worker from Honduras. When he applied for citizenship, he left out a traffic citation from 5 years earlier, thinking it was too small to matter. During background screening, USCIS found not because of the ticket, but because he failed to disclose it. The officer told him, if you can lie about something this small, how can we trust you with citizenship? His application was denied and he was placed under review for false testimony. Now let's pause and flip the perspective. Why do immigrants hide things? Because they're scared of losing everything. Their job, their home, their family. They've spent years building stability in a country that constantly tests their belonging. It's human nature to want to protect that. But here's the paradox. The truth rarely destroys your case, fear does. USCIS can forgive unauthorized work, they can forgive overstays, they can even forgive minor legal issues, but they cannot forgive dishonesty. Once you lose credibility, every benefit becomes harder to obtain. Every officer starts doubting every future application, even if it's 100% valid. So what should you do if you've already made a mistake? Tell the truth clearly, completely, and early. Don't wait for them to find it. Voluntary disclosure looks far better than being caught. If you have an old issue, a denied visa, a forgotten job, or a sealed case, consult a qualified immigration attorney. A real lawyer can explain whether it's even relevant or how to correct it through an affidavit or waiver. Remember this golden rule: the cover-up is always worse than the crime. In immigration law, fear-based silence is seen as deceit. Honesty, even painful honesty, builds credibility, and credibility is your strongest shield. And now, there's a darker reality unfolding. Since 2024, USCIS has increased fraud detection units and even authorized some officers to carry firearms. That means fraud investigations can now escalate from paperwork checks to field inspections and site visits. Applicants who lied or omitted information could find themselves visited by agents not because they're criminals, but because the system now treats silence like guilt. So when you're sitting across from that USCIS officer, remember, they don't expect perfection, they expect truth. They've seen every kind of case, every kind of mistake, but they respect honesty. Your fingerprints, your records, your travel, they already tell your story. The only question is whether your words will match it. Because when fear makes you hide, you hand them the one thing they're trained to look for, a reason to doubt you. Tell the truth, own your story, don't let silence be your downfall. In the eyes of immigration law, truth isn't weakness, it's the only protection you have left.